Hi, my name is Patrick Reagan. This series of videos, Computer Electricity and Electronics, will explain what is electricity and how it affects the computer and various electronic components that are heavily used in computers. This video, Switches, Fuses, and Other Electronic Components, discusses switches, fuses, and circuit breakers and how they affect computers, and give you a short overview of capacitors, diodes, transistors, and integrated circuits used in computers. To protect us from power and give us some control, we can use switches, fuses, and circuit breakers. A switch is an electrical or electronic device that opens and closes a current path. While the switch is open or off, the resistance across the switch will be infinite, not allowing current to flow. While the switch is closed or on, the circuit is complete. The resistance across the switch would be 0 ohms, allowing current to flow. A simple switch is the on-off switch for a light, as well as the on-off switch found on power strips. Remember, some AC wall jacks will be connected to a wall on-off switch. Too often, people troubleshoot an electronic device such as a computer that is not booting, take the computer apart, and put it back together, only to find out that the wall switch controlled the AC outlet. In addition, if you're connected to a power strip or surge protector, check the on-off switches of the power strip or surge protector to make sure it is on. Remember, check for the obvious when troubleshooting. On electronic devices, switches are often labeled as I/O. I/O stands for input-output, which in this case is a little misleading when dealing with electrical power. With switches, I is on and O is off. You can think of as I as letting power in, while O is for off or keeping power out. Your wall socket, an electrical power strip, uses hard power buttons, which are mechanical switches that is either on or off, and you can usually feel a click between the two states. More complicated switches are the power button on your computer, which is considered a soft switch. A soft power button is usually used in computers, as well as some of the other complex electronic devices, which can be programmed to different things. In most situations, when you press the soft power button, it will cause the operating system to do a proper shutdown, or it will cause the computer to go into hibernate mode or sleep. If you want to do a cold shutdown, you'll have to hold down the button for several seconds. A fuse is a protected device that burns open or trips off when there's an excessive current in the circuit. You can think of a fuse as a safety switch. A short or overload can cause excessive current. When the fuse is good, the fuse completes the circuit. A short or overload can cause excessive current. When the fuse is good, the fuse completes the circuit. When the fuse burns out or blown, it opens the circuit, not allowing current to flow. In some fuses, a fuse component burns away, which means that the fuse has to be replaced. In some cases, instead of fuses, it uses a form of circuit breaker that trip or automatically switch to off when it is overloaded. The circuit breakers can be reset, but keep in mind that if your circuit breaker is tripped frequently, you most likely have too much of a load for that circuit, or you have some kind of electrical problem. In these cases, you'll need to lessen the load or get an electrician to fix the problem or increase the capabilities of the electrical system. Now that you understand electricity, let's go into common electronic devices that make up a computer and most other electronic devices. A capacitor is a device which stores an electric charge. The amount of charge per unit of voltage which can be stored is known as capacitance. The capacitance of a capacitor is measured in farads. A capacitor can hold its charge for long periods. Therefore, before working with any circuit containing capacitors, the capacitor should be discharged. The power supply uses capacitors to help even out the flow of electricity, and to act as a small temporary battery. RAM uses microcapacitors to store a bit. When the capacitor is charged or on, it represents a 1, and when the capacitor is not charged or off, it represents a 0. Please keep in mind that as a computer technician, you will likely replace the entire device rather than try to replace the capacitor. Troubleshooting and replacing capacitor falls to an electronics specialist, which requires high level of training and education, and in today's electronic world is less expensive, much quicker, and much safer to replace the entire failed device. A blown, bulging, or leaking capacitor indicates a faulty capacitor where the internal pressure has built up due to damage, usually caused by overheating, leading to the electrolyte fluid inside the capacitor to leak out, sometimes causing visible swelling or even bursting of the capacitor casing. When the capacitor bulges, it means that the internal pressure is high, usually due to the electrolyte expanding from overheating, causing the top of the capacitor to bulge outward. A leaking capacitor signifies that the electrolyte fluid is escaping from the capacitor, often visible as liquid residue around the component's casing. A blown capacitor is a severe form of failure where the internal pressure becomes so great that it can cause the capacitor to burst open, potentially damaging surrounding components. Essentially, it means that the capacitor is no longer functioning properly and will most likely need to replace the motherboard or power supply. A diode is a device which allows current to flow in only one direction. Diodes are used in power supplies and power protection devices. In addition, light-emitting diodes, or LEDs, can be used as indicator lights such as the power light on your computer or the green LED on your network adapter that indicates you have traffic. Today, LEDs can also provide bright light with little electrical consumption or heat dissipation. Today, most monitors and TVs use LEDs to provide the backlit light because of its power efficiency. A transistor is a device which can amplify signals or be used as an electronic on-off switch. It is used in power supplies to act as a variable resistance which continually adjusts itself to whatever value is needed to maintain the correct output voltage. The computer uses billions of transistors as on-off switches, including those used in the processor and memory chips. An integrated circuit, or IC, sometimes referred to as a chip, is a small electronic device made of semiconductor material, usually silicon, consisting of transistors, resistors, and capacitors. Pathways etched into the chip's surface allow electrical signals to pass between the components. The transistors on integrated chips are small, fast, reliable, use relatively little power, and can be mass-produced. ICs allowed for true miniaturization with the ability to integrate many components into a single chip, allows for compact computer design and high processing power. A processor has billions of transistors and other components. The Intel 8086, introduced in 1976, had 29,000 transistors. Each transistor was 3,200 nanometers. Today, a high-end consumer CPU might have anywhere from 10 to 100 billion transistors, depending on the model and manufacturing process, with the latest processors reaching upward of 130 billion transistors. A transistor in today's processor is typically around 3 to 5 nanometers in size, with some high-end chips reaching as small as 2 nanometers. Remember, a nanometer is 1/billionth of a meter, and a typical atom is between 0.1 and 0.5 nanometers. To understand how small a nanometer is, consider that a human hair is roughly 50,000 to 100,000 nanometers wide. Since it becomes more difficult to shrink transistors further, companies are using three-dimensional integrated circuits stacked on top of each other to increase performance and reduce size. Question: what type of electronic component is the processor? Answer: integrated circuit. Question: when you click a switch to the off position, what does it do? Answer: it creates an open in the electrical pathway. Question: what happens when a fuse is blown or a circuit is tripped? Answer: the power circuit is open, which causes electricity to stop flowing. Question: which of the following can be turned off that will affect if your computer turns on or off? Choose all that apply. Answer: wall switch and surge protector. For more information, please visit the following sites. In summary, a switch is an electronic or electronic device that opens and closes a current path. Remember, some AC wall jacks will be connected to a wall on-off switch. In addition, if you're connected to a power strip or surge protector, check the on-off switches of the power strip or surge protector to make sure it is on. With switches, I is on and O is off. You can think of I as letting power in, while O is for off or keeping power out. A capacitor is a device which stores electric charge. An integrated circuit, or IC, sometimes referred to as a chip, is a small electronic device made of semiconductor material, usually silicon, consisting of transistors, resistors, and capacitors. The computer uses billions of nanotransistors as on-off switches, including those used in the processor and memory chips. Thank you for watching this video. The next video in the Computer Electricity and Electronics series is electrostatic discharge. If you have not already, subscribe to the Pat Has Your Back channel. Thank you.